Thank you so much for being with me as we share together another study from the Word of God. I want to share with you today a brief study of the parable of the talents. It may well be that this parable is among the most well known of all of the parables of Jesus. But I would suggest to the contrary also that it may be among the least well known of the parables. There are so many interesting dynamics, so many things going on in the background. I'd like to try to unpack a bit of that with you today. The reading of the parable is found in Matthew chapter 25, beginning in verse 14. As we come together today and think about the theme, the blessing of having an opportunity. When opportunities come, they are for us a blessing. I want to limit our reading. We will begin with the reading in Matthew chapter 25 and verses 14 and 15. Again, the kingdom of heaven will be like a man going on a journey who called his servants and entrusted his property to them. To one, he gave 5 talents of money, to another, 2 talents, and to another 1 talent, each one according to his ability. Then he went on his journey. And the man who had received the 5 talents went at once and put his money to work and gained 5 more. You know the rest of the story. Let's think together about this parable. First of all, let's think about the truth that we're talking about money. Sometimes the teaching of Jesus in this parable is applied to our abilities, our capacities, the things that we're gifted to do. Certainly there's a principle that can be applied, but if we're going to begin by hearing what the Bible says and what the original message means, we have to begin by asking ourselves the question, well, how much money are we talking about? Before the word talent meant ability, it referred to money. It was the largest unit of Greek currency, about 10,000 denarii. You may remember that a denarius is a day's wage. We could see that in Matthew chapter 20, the parable of the workers. Now take your daily wage and multiply it by 10,000. Or if that's too big a number, think of it this way. Most of us work about 250 days a year, thinking about 5-day work weeks, thinking about holidays. Multiply your annual wage by 40. It will come out the same. We're talking about 40 years of work, your income, 40 years, virtually a lifetime of income. That would be 1 talent. You've just determined the value of a talent in your life today, in today's economy. If you make $30,000 a year, 1 talent is about $1.2 million. Since many people expect to work for about 40 years, again, I remind you that a talent is a lifetime of earnings. The same amount as if you were able to save every penny you have ever earned. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of value. And that is, I think, a key point in this parable. Your God-given design, your uniqueness, your ability, the person that you are, because God created you as he did, you as a person have great value in heaven's marketplace. We're not talking about God giving one person $1, another person $2, another person $5. We're not even talking about $1,000 and $2,000 and $5,000. We're talking about God making multi-million dollar investments. God has abundantly blessed us. Remember our title. Not only are we studying the parable of the talents, we're thinking about how much in our lives the opportunities that God sends our way are intended for us as blessings. Now let's look at three principles that run throughout this story. First of all, God gives gifts abundantly. God is not miserly as he gives gifts. Secondly, God gives gifts carefully, not randomly. The Bible clearly says, according to the ability of those involved in the parable. And thirdly, God gives specifically chosen gifts. God elevates us from our commonplace life by matching our unique abilities to custom-made assignments in the kingdom. God blesses us specifically so that we can bless others. The blessing of the opportunities that God gives us are not intended only for us, but also as a blessing for others. Now let's look at the story. The first two servants rewarded their master's trust. The 5-talent man, you know the story, went off, started trading, studied the investment magazines, watched the business channel, heard about a franchise opportunity, identified a prime piece of property, studied the options, crunched the numbers, did all of the things that we would anticipate. You understand, I'm trying to bring this up to date in our day, in our time, and he took the plunge. He took the risk. He didn't stop there. He paid attention. He checked the progress daily. He made adjustments. He worked at it. He knew his master, and he was honored by the trust that his master had bestowed on him. His master had given him a great opportunity, and he did not want to disappoint his master. His master had given him an opportunity that would be for him a blessing and for others a blessing. Now, the Bible says that the 2-talent man also went out and took risks, perhaps equal risks. He was wanting to help his master. He also negotiated and traded and worked. Both the 5-talent man and the 2-talent man dared to fail, took a chance, seized opportunities before they went away. There were no guarantees. Failure was an option. It was possible, but opportunities demand that we take great risks. The blessings are not automatic. They require effort and thought and action on our part. Their master commended them. They used their opportunity as a blessing. The blessings come, but they are not automatic. Not everyone uses opportunities well, as we will see in just a moment. You know the story. The 5-talent man received the applause of his master, verse 21. Well done, good and faithful servant. You've been faithful in a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Share your master's happiness. And then the master turned to the 2-talent man. And what will he say to the $2 million man? He will say exactly the same words. Verse 23. Well done, good and faithful servant. Do we not long to be numbered among those who will hear those words? Well done, good and faithful servant. To have Jesus call us good when he said none is good but God. He refused to have those words applied to himself. To have Jesus say, you did a good job, good and faithful, not good and flashy, not good and famous, not good and fashionable, not even good and fruitful, good and faithful. So what does that mean for you and for me? Well, let's continue the story. The one mistake that is not acceptable is the mistake of making no mistakes. The one mistake, the mistake of the one talent man, is the mistake of making certain that he never made a mistake. Did the master notice the one talent man? Certainly he did. After all, he had given him, we could say, more or less, $1 million in today's economy. We learn a sobering lesson about blessings and opportunities. The lesson of opportunities missed, blessings sacrificed. The faithful servants went and traded. They used their giftedness. The one talent man went and dug. The first two eagerly went forth and worked in the affairs of their master. They accomplished the things their master would have accomplished, the things their master wished to have done. But the one talent man went and buried his treasure. The first two went out on a limb. The last one hugged the trunk, wouldn't even climb the tree. He made the most common and tragic mistake of giftedness, a mistake that continues into our day. It's a mistake made by individual Christians. It's a mistake made by churches. Do we use the tremendous giftedness, the blessings, the resources that God has given us for the benefit, for the purpose, for the advancement of the cause of our master? The one talent man failed to bless his master with the opportunity he had been given. After the master had blessed him, he failed to pass on that blessing, failed to cause that blessing, that opportunity to grow. And a question for us: how many of us fail to invest for our master? And the tragic words of verses 24, 25. The man who had received one talent came. Master, I knew that you are a hard man, harvesting where you've not sown, gathering where you've not scattered. I was afraid and went and hid your talent in the ground. See, here is what belongs to you. Let's think about what happened. C.S. Lewis, thinking about the principle that confiscating heaven's gifts for our own personal use, our own personal selfish gain, is in fact one definition of sin. Lewis wrote this: sin is the distortion of an energy that has been breathed into us, an energy which, if it were not distorted, would have blossomed into holy acts with the idea everywhere about us that God did it, I did it, both being true descriptions, but we poison the wine he pours into us. We murder the melody. This is C.S. Lewis's description. We murder the melody he would play with us as the instrument. Sin is, among all of the other things that it is a sacrilege. It's failing to understand who God is. Now, some invest talents and give God credit. Others misuse their talents and give God grief. Some honor him with the fruit of their labors. Others insult him with excuses. And I want to think with you about verses 26 and 27. The words of the one talent man. I knew you to be a hard man. Now, a question that we often pass over: is that a true statement? Is the concept that the one talent man had of the master true? The master would not so much as honor the excuse. Verses 26 and 27. The master replied, you wicked, lazy servant. So you knew that I harvest where I've not sown, gather where I've not scattered seed. Did you notice what the master did not say? The master did not affirm that he was a hard man. The master repeated the assessment of the servant, but he excluded one phrase. The master would not accept the description. Hard. That's a word that the Bible uses describing the Pharisees. Jesus uses that word to describe the Pharisees. The writer of the book of Hebrews used that word to describe the wandering persons of Israel in the wilderness. The one-talent man called his master stiff-necked, stubborn, hard, harsh. The sin of the one-talent man is not only mismanagement, although that's involved. His major problem is he doesn't know the master. He has a misunderstanding. He doesn't understand the master he serves. Is his master hard? He just gave multi-million-dollar gifts and trusts to undeserving servants. And the master honored the 2-talent man and the 5-talent man. And now the 1-talent man was in line also for equal blessings. Is that a hard master? No, that's a master that is infinitely good, gracious, abundant. Yes, hard, no. The 1-talent man did not know his master. There is somewhere in what I am saying here for us a lesson. Do we know the one we serve? He could have known his master. The other servants did. He could have asked them. He could have asked their advice, but he did not. And his master rejected him, and he lost the blessing of the opportunity the master had provided him. I believe false servants populate the master's house yet today. We enjoy his universe. We benefit from his earth. We may even know his name. We may understand something of his habits. We may frequent his house. We may lift words of praise. But we never do quite grasp his passion, his blessing, his desire to save the world through the saving work accomplished in the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ. We never see the opportunity. The opportunities we do see are false opportunities. We never seize the day. And as a result, we misuse our talents. Here's the problem. If we do not know God's heart, we will break God's heart. So who is this unprofitable servant? Who is the one most in danger of missing the blessing of opportunity? You never use your gifts for God. You are the unprofitable servant. And when I say use your gifts for God, I mean to accomplish what God wants, not what you want. To accomplish God's purpose in this world. If we do not use our gifts to advance God's purpose, we are the unprofitable servants. We are the ones who are failing to do what God has put us here to do. Our God is in the business of multiplying opportunities. Well, there are great lessons to be learned. I want to suggest 5. Perhaps memorable. Perhaps if you cannot remember 5, you can remember 1. Pick one that you most like. First of all, God gives us opportunities according to our ability. The text clearly says that. Second, God gives opportunities for the purpose of advancing his cause, his purpose in this world. God gives opportunities so that we can do more than simply do good things. God gives us resources, not simply so we can bless others, but so we can bless others eternally, bless others spiritually. Number 3, God gives opportunities so that you will be blessed and that you will pass those blessings on to others. God gives us blessings so he can bless us more abundantly in the future. Number 4, opportunities are a blessing only if we see them and use them. And finally, not everyone sees opportunity as a blessing, as in the case of the 1-talent man. But the problem is that he did not know the master. The greatest challenge you and I have is getting to know the one who desires to bless us, the one who is the ultimate source of blessing. I hope some of the things that we've shared together have been perhaps challenging, a bit new, perhaps a fresh look at the parable of the talents, and the question with which I close: Do you know the blesser? May God richly bless us as we seek to come to know him and to receive his blessings so that we can pass those blessings on by using the resources, the talents, the abilities with which he has so richly blessed us. Thank you for being a part of the study. Till we can be together again to study God's word, may God richly bless you, that you might bless others, is my prayer.